Fox Sports presents the Nextel Direct Connect Halftime Report. Nextel, get right through.
Tied at 14 in Nashville, the NFL on CBS will continue after this word from your local CBS stations. Here at Adelphia Coliseum as we open the third quarter, tied at 14. Tim Brando alongside Spencer Tillman. Well, McNair was hot in the first quarter, 14-0 lead. Got cold like the weather in the second, allowing Cincinnati back in. Corey Dillon with the big run.
Yeah, preference. How about the cold first? Trying to pull out Kevin Long. Got tangled up a little bit, did Steve McNair. Under center, pulls out here and just falls down. Can't get the ball tossed properly. But I'll tell you what, this is the Steve McNair we've come to know over the years. Sees pressure, pulls it down, squeezes in for the touchdown. Nothing special about that, but it scores. And then this is something that's been consistent, the theme all year long. He's taken a beating, whether it's good or bad, Tim.
You look at the numbers here at halftime, and virtually even in first downs as well as the score. And, you know, the passing yards that were not there for Kitna became available in that quick drive, a 48-second drive where he used 3 different receivers, and then Corey Dillon set sail 34 yards for the touchdown.
That's right, and the thing that may not be reflected in those numbers is the fact that when that timing came for the running game, Kitna really took advantage of that, got press coverage on the outside, made some great passing efforts there. That helped this ball club. Tremendous job by Kitna hanging in there before he got warm.
Neil Rackers will kick it away for the Bengals as we get the third quarter underway. Eddie Berlin back deep, number 82, awaiting at the 10-yard line for Tennessee. Short kick, Wynn caught it. Berlin now has it at the 15 and moving forward. And he manages the 32-yard line before being stopped.
Berlin on the return.
Stopped by Danny Farmer coming on. You talked about special teams. There's Mr. Farmer coming down to make a tackle.
Well, there's an old expression. The NFL actually stands for not for long, Tim. And if you're not a starter or you're not getting the major number of plays, you've got to show yourself on special teams. Farmer doing a great job, and we talked about Dugans early.
Well, Neil O'Donnell coming in, perhaps the theme of the day being what it has been all season for McNair. They've decided to give that toe a start on the offseason and hit Neil O'Donnell under center.
Well, I like Neil O'Donnell. Tremendous job there.
And an 8-yard pickup for Eddie George right away. Neil O'Donnell is a guy that they may have to, for salary cap purposes, restructure his contract going into next season.
Well, that may not be a comment or commentary in terms of his value to this team. I happen to think Neil O'Donnell is the most talented backup, should be starting on 3/4 of the team in the National Football League if he had that opportunity. I think he's a valuable asset to this ball club.
Only 5 years removed from being a Super Bowl starter with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Second down, we'll call it a yard. And George is stopped for no gain. And there's a flag. Here comes a late flag. Tony Williams coming in, popping him. And it's a personal foul against Cincinnati. Terry McCauley will give us the call.
Personal foul, late hit. Number 94 defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Tony Williams, who played collegiately at Memphis, a little too much adrenaline in a state in which he's spent a great deal of time. We talked about those needs for Tennessee, what they need to accomplish with Bruce Matthews perhaps playing his last down in the NFL. He may be gone. They may need some help there in the secondary. And, of course, getting that restructuring of O'Donnell's contract out of the way.
Timing is important on Bruce's deal. If he decides to hang around, needs to happen after June.
Aaron Kinney in the game and in motion at tight end. And here's George right up the middle to the 45-yard line. Justin Smith makes the stop.
And the reason why he has to happen after June is because it won't count against the salary cap if they make that decision then. Anytime before then, that 5.4 is a huge number to take for a guy that ultimately decides to hang him up on you.
Officially, the word from the Titans sidelines is a back spasm causing McNair to sit and likely not to return. But clearly, when you consider all the bumps and bruises, he told us he can't think of an area where he does not ache going into this last game of the year. It's understandable that O'Donnell would come in. Pass is low. Dyson wanted to scoop it, but couldn't at the 40-yard line.
And Neal just needs a little time to warm up. He looked like he had a string on the end of that ball. Just short hopped it a little bit in front of the receiver. But Neal O'Donnell, if he gets a couple of plays underneath his belt, I think he's going to be just fine.
I tell you, this is a Titans team. You can see why they've been, you know, a 13-win team and a Super Bowl participant in recent years. But it really illustrates how no team in this league can afford to lose as many players defensively and have as many offensive stars banged up as this team has had all year. Pass is caught. Bennett has it. He's been an excellent find for this team. Drew Bennett, the rookie from UCLA. Brian Simmons makes the stop at the 26-yard line. First down.
I think ultimately Bean winds up getting beat as well on this play. Spikes does a great job of creating pressure here on Eddie George, but everyone picks up their assignment. But watch the missed tackle here. A fine job of eluding Bean, but the protection for O'Donnell was what's key. Watch the time that he has to sit back there in the pocket. He pumps it and then steps up. O'Donnell, Takeo Spikes just got there a little bit too late.
Well, he was also blocked by Eddie George, who picked him up coming in. On 1st and 10, George tries to cut back. Nothing doing is Brian Simmons. You think of Takeo Spikes, and sometimes you overlook guys like Brian Simmons and Canute Curtis, younger players, 4-year, 5-year guys who also play very well. Simmons is another very quick linebacker.
Tim, you know, I got to go back to O'Donnell because I just love this kid. When you look at how he performed and handled that last play right there, just coming in fresh off the bench, a less experienced quarterback probably would have forced it or tried to run on that particular play. He showed the patience, completed the pass, and got a big play out of it.
After 12 years, I think he's glad to be called kid. Maybe the only time he's been called kid this year.
Well, I'm older than he is.
Well, he's sacked, and he fumbled the football, but apparently it's recovered. Kevin Long, the center, got on top of it. Back at the 38-yard line. Another sack for Spikes today, 5 of them.
Well, that ties him. Watch the pressure coming right here. Spikes doing a great job. No one blocked him. You know, there's zone blocking up front. The ball comes out as a result. It's really, really tough. Spikes is the type of guy that can cause all kind of confusion when he gets in between the guard tackle gap. It really makes it difficult because you don't know if he's bailing out, if he's coming up quick, blitzing on you.
And another sack at a time when Tennessee is likely in field goal position. Now they need to make up some ground on 3rd and 21. O'Donnell going deep and overthrows Dyson into double coverage. And so a punt formation coming up. Well, the AFC Central this year, Pittsburgh dominant with the bus. Baltimore rough sledding early on, and Gerbach still not getting it done the way Brian Billick would like. Cleveland and Tennessee, but you think about the Titans, a team that got out of the gates 0-3, then got hot, but it was a bit too late. The loss at Minnesota really hurt them. Jacksonville started out quickly, then lost that game to Cleveland at 2-0, and really went into a tailspin after the game we had. I believe that was the 3rd game of the year, shortly after the games had been canceled after the tragedy of 9/11. That one does get into the end zone via touchback, and Cincinnati will have it at the 20 after a 37-yard boot. Adelphia Coliseum is sold out today. No blackout, and my guess is because of the dank and dreary conditions, we have a lot of viewership in Music City today.
Diplomatic of you to put it that way.
John Kitna's pass is caught by Dillon, and he dances along the sidelines to the 35-yard line for the first down. Well, for the best NFL coverage on the net, including expert analysis and live scoreboards, go to cbs.sportsline.com or America Online, keyword CBS Sportsline.
Well, Tim, that's actually nothing unusual, though, in terms of how they respond here. This is still unseasonably cold temperatures for them. It's winter, but I mean, they were cleaning out stores under the threat of 1 inch of snow.
Dillon ahead to about the 35, maybe 36-yard line. Well, the Bengals, by contrast to Tennessee, have made some significant strides this year in a lot of categories, but just not enough. You know, Dick LeBeau will admit readily that 13.5 points is not enough to win in the National Football League consistently.
If that's not your style of play. I mean, the Tennessee Titans last week withstanding were averaging 19.4 points per game. Of course, they had 24 by the half in that contest last week against Cleveland, which they lost. But look, they are a run-first team. This Cincinnati ball club is that as well, but they also have passing threat.
And Dillon powers his way ahead for 9 yards off the right side for an update on Jacksonville and Chicago. An NFL update from Jim Nantz in New York.
Thank you, Timmy B. We'll call this a sprint to the finish. The Bears with a win today claim the NFC Central up 13-0. Keith Traylor puts the big paw out there, steals it away, makes the interception. And will the big man make it? Looking for a little help. There's no one there. Will he outrace the Jaguars? No, but it sets up a touchdown pass. And the Jags are on the board as well. Let's go back to you, Timmy B and Spencer.
All right, Jim. Well, we remember a tractor trailer in basketball. That was more than a trailer in football. The Bears have had a magnificent year in helping to clear things up in the NFC situation as Darnay Scott makes the grab, carries it into Tennessee territory at the 40. A wild and wacky NFC playoff picture you see.
Here's a team to beat, Timmy, right there.
Yep. I mean, I think Tampa Bay is still a very dangerous team. I don't think anyone wants any part of them early on.
I put the question mark there because they do this every year to Tony Dungy. They play exceptionally well down the stretch. When they can't get past the second round of the playoffs.
I wonder how much the Spurrier concern, how much impact that could have into the playoffs. You know it's going to be written about in that state, as it's been written about throughout the country, as Bennett makes the catch and he's down at the 35. And we should touch on that. Everyone I talked to in college football circles indicates that Joe Castiglione, the athletic director at Oklahoma, is aware that Bobby Stoops is going to be the guy, that Mike Stoops could be retained as head coach, and Steve Spurrier could get a piece of the Tampa Bay pie very soon, with Dungy perhaps taking Denny Green's place in Minnesota.
Well, there's a lot of scenarios that could play out, but one thing we all agree on, that Steve Spurrier's in the catbird seat right now. He can pretty much name his place.
Dillon, with markers down, stopped behind the line of scrimmage. And just to close that thought, as a reporter that cares deeply about college football and specifically in the SEC, I'm saddened that he's going to be gone.
Defense, number 55, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Eddie Robinson, the guilty party. Steve Spurrier has really transformed all of college football, and I think probably as a professional coach, he can really bring some much-needed help to quarterbacking in this league.
I think so, but I think he's going to definitely have to govern the way he responds to players, because this is a different animal when you're dealing with pro guys versus college guys. That visor's better stay on his head. 1st and 10.
Dillon off the right side to about the 25-yard line. Thursday on Survivor, this is it. The final episode. Find out who will be voted the ultimate survivor in the dramatic 2-hour finale. Then stay tuned for a live reunion featuring all 16 survivors together for the first time. It all begins at 8, 7 Central Thursday here on CBS. It's an excellent drive underway for the Bengals to open this half at the 25-yard line of Tennessee. 2nd and 5. On the cross, Dillon felt that he had been interfered with. There seemed to be a lot of contact, but no flag.
Well, he was interfered with. No question about it. Eddie Robinson had handcuffs on him.
Now, before that pass, Kitna had hit 3 out of 3.
Well, you know, one of the things that an inside linebacker in particular really hates is when they're matched up with a receiver or a more athletic type guy. So Eddie's been around a long time now, so he sees a skill position guy in front of him. He's going to try to use all of his savvy to take advantage of that matchup.
4 wide receivers. Dillon the lone setback. A trip set at the bottom of your screen. Warwick driven to the ground. Excellent defensive work. Closing was Deron Jenkins. And again, a little more contact after the fact with Ian Warwick. A lot of woofing going on between these two teams today. It started early in the first quarter with Tennessee's offensive front against Cincinnati's defensive front. Now it's carrying through here into the third quarter.
Timmy, on that last play, it will go unnoticed because what happens is teams typically don't review the last game of the year, but Corey Dillon made a tremendous play.
4th and 5, and the Bengals will go for it. Dugan's in motion. Kitna to Dillon. And he has the first down inside the 20 at the 19. Nice patience by Kitna, waiting for Corey Dillon to break free. Samari Roll hauled him down.
Well, again, Kitna does a great job of showing patience back here. You'll see him drop back, but I want you to watch where he places the ball on the back shoulder again. That's dangerous. He puts it on the inside hip. Great job of hauling it in by Dillon, getting the first down and knowing just how much he needed for the first down.
He's holding his back and hip as Brandon Bennett checks in for him. Lorenzo Neal, the up back, on 1st and 10. Clock winding down. Kitna may need a timeout. He does take it. Crowd got involved with that one.
Cincinnati, their first charge.
Timeout Bengals. They're on the move.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Goodyear, reminding you to take all of your journeys on the wings of Goodyear. Circuit City, we know how you feel, that's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And by Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
I've been spending the entire weekend in the land of Rocky Top. Seen the state from I-40 from Knoxville through Nashville.
That's right. You did the hoops game yesterday, right?
It's a lot of fun. 1 versus 2 there, and a couple of teams trying to finish off their NFL seasons on a winning note. Pass is incomplete. Intended for Darnay Scott. By the way, we've been seeing a lot of Music City, Grand Ole Opry stuff, right, coming out of the breaks.
Yeah.
You remember what the year that Rocky Top was written and recorded?
I'm a brother from North Tulsa, man. I don't remember that.
1967 was the year. Well, the brothers and sisters of Tennessee got that song in '67 from the Osborne Brothers. Bluegrass band.
Now, if we sample that and put that in a rap mix or something, maybe I can identify.
2nd and 10. Nice pass to Dugans. And he's taken out shy of the 10 at about the 11-yard line. Perry Phoenix takes him out. That's the 11th play of this drive. And again, the 4th down conversion was huge. And Dick LeBeau's really got to love what he's seeing here. His team, and I think this is probably, you talk about the character of a team usually embodies its coach. It's been resilient. And I think that's been his career throughout, both as an assistant, as a player with the Lions, and now as a head coach.
That's right. I mean, this guy really takes care of himself from top to bottom, and it shows in the way his players play the game as well.
Kitna now rolls away from some pressure and just has to get rid of it. A lot of pressure coming from Kevin Carter. 7 years out of Florida, the defensive end. He's got a lot of hops and speed. Kitna had nothing there and just had to dump it. And Neil Rackers will come on. And you talk about a kicker who's gone through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's just in 1 week. It's Neil Rackers. Missed the extra point last week. Then the game goes into overtime. He manages to make it. He missed 2 chip shots of 25 and 32 yards last week. This is a 30-yarder.
But his most important miss was our meeting. We were supposed to chat with him a little bit yesterday, right? Yeah, he went for a walkabout.
We needed to work out that thigh. Snap, spot, and the kick. Right through the uprights. Into the wind. And they'll take it. Down 14 to open. They now lead by 3 in the 3rd. Tim Brando, Spencer Tillman in Nashville. Neil Rackers coming off a 30-yard field goal, a 68-yard drive that took 5:13 off the clock. Very effective with a 4th down conversion in the midst of that drive. And the Bengals have now come from a 14-point deficit to take the lead.
And that last drive by the Bengals looks more like the Titans than the Titans look like themselves. Occupying the clock, keeping it out of the hands of the opposition.
Andy Berlin. Nice move to the outside by Berlin, and he cuts back and manages the 40-yard line. Adrian Ross, reserve linebacker, comes in to make the stop. Well, I don't know if you can expect Bruce, but CBS will be back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Burger King, home of the Whopper. And by Cellular One. When you need a cell phone, Cellular One is here.
We have some hunters and some new wavebacks here at Nashville, and Neil Rackers, who just gave his team the lead at 17-14, had a remarkable day that ended the right way for Cincinnati and for the kicker last week. As we come back to action, 1st and 10 here in the third. Neil O'Donnell in the game for the injured Steve McNair. McNair with back spasms, not playing here in the second half. Oliver Gibson.
Offense, number 87. 5-yard penalty.
Along with Kevin Dyson moving a bit early. Well, we said the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's the bad and the ugly all in one kick. He had missed 2 in the first half as well. So the game goes into overtime after Cincinnati had come back. But then in OT, he managed to get it through the uprights. And Neil Rackers provided the margin of victory in a come-from-behind win against the playoff-bound and perhaps home field owning in the playoffs Pittsburgh Steelers.
Got pressure coming here.
Eddie George, you really know, I mean, they need to win the game, obviously. They want to finish 8-8. There's a fumble, and Cincinnati may have it. They do. George is saying he was down. Dyson also suggesting that he may have been down. Darrell Williams has the fumble recovery, number 31 for Cincinnati.
Well, it's tough to see, but watch it here on the little boss or toss play on the outside. George finds a little soft hole there, but the ball indeed does come out just before he hits the ground. Darrell Williams.
Hey, he stripped it, he recovered it, and it was an excellent call.
Eddie George is one heck of a running back. We know that, and he also takes his performance personally. So when he gives up the rock and jeopardizes his team's success, Tim, he really feels it.
Here's Lorenzo Neal, once a blocking fullback for Eddie George, taking the pass and moving ahead to about the 32-yard line of Tennessee. Perry Phoenix, number 35, coming up from safety to make the stop.
In fact, it was Lorenzo that told us yesterday that when Eddie George can't perform at his best, he really does take it personally. I mean, he carries this team on his shoulders and has for many of his almost 6 years complete in the season now. He is a fine talent, but that fumble really cost his team. And as this game wears on, they're going to start to conserve the ball a little bit more. Cincinnati will, and it's going to make it difficult for Tennessee to get back in it.
As they say, it takes one to know one. Lorenzo Neal, the same type of persona. 2nd and 8, quick out pattern to Scott. And he's finally hauled out by Jenkins at the 25-yard line. You know, going back to Lorenzo Neal for just a moment, Tuesdays used to be a day off at Cincinnati. And then when Lorenzo came in, people started noticing him around the stadium, going into the film room, looking at film. Suddenly, guys were intimidated into coming in on their off days. Take a look at what's necessary to prepare for the following week on an off day.
And it really becomes special because, Tim, these guys have one off day, and after they go out and beat themselves up on the field, to sacrifice that day up for anything is a tall challenge, but they certainly do it, and it came with the influence of O'Neal.
Scott again right in front of the zone coverage. They're just throwing underneath. Morris takes him out, and Darnay Scott now really beginning to have a big day, and a late flag comes down. And a personal foul against Cincinnati. Well, that was ill-advised. Wow. Terry McCauley and crew have been busy today. They've managed to get more control of the game after the early goings-on between the Tennessee offensive line and Cincinnati defensive front. I thought for a moment we may have an ejection or two. It got that bad at one point.
Well, it looked that way for sure, but I think what Cincinnati should take pride in.
Foul. Late hit. Offense. Number 28. Foul occurred after the play was out of bounds.
Wow.
The down counts. It's a first down. 15-yard penalty. It will be 1st and 25.
Well, Dillon hurt his team there. That does not oftentimes happen with him. Watch coming into your screen late. Right there. Yep, already out of bounds. Took the linebacker Favors out. So that backs him up to the 28-yard line. The way this game is going and with the elements the way they are, and O'Donnell, who's not gotten warm since coming in from McNair, a score here to make it a 2-score situation, maybe a larger lead than it would have been ordinarily.
It does make it tough, and again, as the temperatures drop, the ball gets harder, it gets slicker. We don't have the precipitation that we had earlier, but it does become a tougher challenge to score.
Still first down, and the pass to Warwick cradled at the 21-yard line. For an update on Cleveland and Pittsburgh, back to New York and Jim Nantz.
All right, in snowy Pittsburgh, they got their receiver tandem, Ward and Burris, both over 1,000 on the season. The first duo in Pittsburgh history, same season to do so. Now Bobby Shaw gets into the act. Touchdown catch from Tommy Maddox. Steelers lead at 21-7, early fourth. Let's go back to you.
Coming off the loss to the Bengals last week and in the snow, Pittsburgh getting it done. Here's Cincinnati. Still needing to get the ball inside the 5-yard line for a first down. I mean, they're back way up. They need to get to the 3-yard line for a first down, so it's second and long. How about the Patriots against the Panthers, Jim Nantz? Back to you.
All right, Timmy B. Patriots needing that win to claim the AFC East. And Antoine Smith, what a find for them this season. 32 yards. He matches the uniform number, 24-6, early fourth at Carolina. And let's go back to Timmy B. and Spencer.
It's been a dramatic turnaround offensively with Brady at the helm, and of course an excellent running back to go along with it for the Patriots this year.
That's right. A handful of running backs doing exceptionally well. Priest Holmes comes to mind for Kansas City. Young guys doing the job.
Kitna calls a timeout.
First charge timeout. There'll be a 30-second timeout.
30-second timeout called by Kitna. Monday on CBS is, well, it's the place to be for an all-new night of great television, starting with The King of Queens, followed by Yes Dear, and Monday's #1 comedy, Everybody Loves Raymond. And don't miss Ted Danson in Becker, followed by an all-new Family Law. All Monday here on CBS.
I noticed you said yes, dear, with authority. Like you know.
I'm accustomed to saying yes, dear. You've been in my home. You've seen that happen.
Yes, I have.
John Kitna now coming back into the game with 3:04 in the third. That penalty by Dillon could really be costly here because remember there's a stiff wind blowing. Rackers is a 50-50 circumstance. We know that. It's been very inconsistent, the kicking game. So this is a very important down, not necessarily for a first down, but just to get closer.
Right. And again, if you know the temperament of both these coaches, probably more so with Tennessee, although in a close game, they're going to want to try to score. But the game typically will slow down. Coaches tend to get conservative.
3rd and 18. They need the 3-yard line for a first down. And a pass in traffic to Chad Johnson is complete to the 15. So they did manage additional yardage to make the job for Rackers a bit easier. And I think that was clearly what Dick LeBeau wanted.
Now they should get points out of this, but we're also noticing the way they're distributing the ball offensively. A tremendous job of Mitna getting the ball to Warwick. He's getting it to Farmer. He's gotten it to at least 6 different receivers today.
33-yard try for Neil Rackers. Wynn caught it, and he just managed to get it through the left upright. 33 yards for Rackers. And Dick LeBeau now sees his team leading by 6. 20-14 here in the third. And points may be more difficult to come by here in the second half. Tonight on 60 Minutes, while security experts are reasonably certain they can protect the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City from terror attack, they tell 60 Minutes that they're not too sure they can say the same about Athens when the Summer Olympics are held there 2.5 years from now. 60 Minutes tonight, followed by Richard Dreyfuss and the education of Max Bickford. Then Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery star in the network premiere of Entrapment. All tonight here on CBS. Neil O'Donnell warming up, and I think that's been part of the problem for Tennessee. He's just not been able to get on track after McNair left with back spasms. And my guess is while that is true. He's also got the toe problem. It's been a rough year, and the aches and pains caught up, and it was really time for O'Donnell to come in, back spasm or not.
Yeah, I think, though, O'Donnell's frustration has been compounded because he really hadn't got a chance to get on the field and maintain any sense of consistency because Cincinnati has been controlling the ball. So his problem's compounded by not being able to get on.
Rackers to kick it away, and Eddie Berlin back deep. Rackers gets a hold of this one, backing Berlin up to the 7. And he's knocked down at the 30-yard line. Ron Dugan's down there to make the stop.
I told you Dugans is a heck of a talent, man. He's in on special teams again. Tremendous guy. He's talented, and you know what? Starring in a role, even though he was teammate of Warwick, he's starring in a situation where he's a key player on a national championship team, and then having to come and then take a lesser role. It tells you something about the kid.
Now, one of the things that many in the Cincinnati media have been critical of with regard to the Cincinnati receivers is the inability to line up properly in certain offensive sets. They'll need to work on that, both he and Warwick. Pass is complete to Mason, shy of the 40-yard line at about the 37. Armour pulls him down.
You know what I noticed on the slow drag on that last play, Mason did a great job of hauling it in, but if this is in the offing for Jeff Fisher, he's got a great opportunity for a nice little hook and ladder. They're totally not dealing with the tight end. They sacrifice him in that cover 3 with a single safety, and they let the tight end drag across the field. Great opportunity for a little trickeration there.
In week 17, you could expect almost anything. Wycheck and Kinney both in at tight end. Out pattern for Dyson. He's got it. Bean went for the pick and paid a price. Boy, what a mistake by number 23 in white. 28 yards. Boy, he gambled and lost on that play. Tennessee now sets up shop at the 35.
Well, you're isolated on an island out there at the corner spot, and that's tough. It's probably more difficult than a tackle. Just tries to be a little bit more aggressive, and then Dyson just takes the ball away from him, gets upfield. Tremendous effort. And I'll tell you what, the guy's talented. Big, tall, strong, 199 pounds. That's pretty good for a receiver, 6'1".
1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. O'Donnell. A pump fake setting up the screen for Wycheck. Boy, Spikes almost picked that one off. Taquillo got a hand on it. And I tell you, if he catches one, he'll go a long way in a hurry.
Well, you're not going to catch this guy because I'll tell you what, he's fast. He's got speed like a running back. He's probably in the 4.5 range, and he argued that he can run a 4.4 if you catch him on a good day. He's very talented. Tremendous speed. 2 sacks today, 5 tackles.
Maintained a leadership role. You know, his dad passed away earlier this year. This young man has embraced the game and also a strong family man. Thought a lot of his pop. 2nd and 10. Here comes Spikes on the blitz. And Mason has it. Touchdown. Robert Bean burned twice, going for the pick earlier against Dyson, and this time has his pocket picked by Mason, who has 186 yards in receiving today and now 2 touchdowns.
Well, Bean was stalking him from the rear, but to tell you what Mason did, he shook him on a little pivot and then kept going. And when you get a defensive back in your hip pocket and he's looking back at the receiver, at the quarterback, you've got him exactly where you want. That's the nice touchdown for Mason, 2nd today.
The extra point is good, and now the Titans lead by 1.
Here again, watch Neil O'Donnell coming back. He's got plenty of time and protection there, although Spikes is coming off the corner. Watch here. There's Bean. He got turned around. Mason does a great job. Tremendous action. And I'll tell you what, the guy that's happiest on the field, Neil O'Donnell, although you wouldn't know it. That arm's up in there, though.
Got a little dap. And Mason, oh my, what a moment. We'll take it. He's looking at a 200-yard day here on week 17. 186 yards. And clearly he has been the most influential player on the field for either team this afternoon.
You talk about what a way to put an exclamation point on the season. And, you know, we talked about the number of things that Tennessee has to play for. One of them is finishing at 500. You know, no other team in the National Football League since 1996 has finished at or above 500 more often than had the Tennessee Titans. And certainly he's ensuring that if they can stay on top here.
This would be their 6th consecutive year to not have anything other than a winning or 500 season. They've not had a losing season in 6 years, provided they win today. Nedney's kick to Rudy Johnson, bobbles it, and he bobbled it at the 1, and it goes in for the touchback. Momentum carrying him in there. Don't forget, this is a doubleheader Sunday on CBS. The Jets and the Raiders, a featured matchup with Kansas City at Seattle. Important game there, provided the Jets dropped that game to Oakland, and it's been since '62. They were the Titans of New York the last time they beat the Raiders at Oakland, and Buffalo at Miami. For more, go to NFL.com or America Online, keyword NFL.com. It's pretty simple. Jets and Ravens win, and they're in. Seattle needs help from either one.
Curious, Timmy, if that group right there, Oakland, has a chance to play with Jerry Rice. I know his dad was ill, and don't know if his services will be available.
Here's Dillon bouncing out to the left, and he's dropped at the 20-yard line. Good pressure and run support from Deron Jenkins, the cornerback, coming up to help the linebackers in bringing Dillon down. Well, Dillon had his 34-yard run for a touchdown, which amassed much of the 72. Eddie could have had that much when you think about it, were it not for a penalty called on what was a great run. And then, of course, he had that key fumble just a short time ago as the clock winds down here in the third quarter.
Well, that last column was the most important. Those 2 touchdowns there, that was a production.
That's the end of the third with our score 21-20 Tennessee. We'll return to Adelphia Coliseum after this message and a word from your local CBS stations. You're watching the NFL on CBS. We open the fourth quarter with a second down for Cincinnati. Kitna looking wide to Chad Johnson. He makes the catch at the 32-yard line as we open the fourth. Tim Brando alongside Spencer Tillman. So far we've seen Kitna with some outstanding plays at quarterback. O'Donnell finally warms up, and big play capability for Tennessee.
Well, it wasn't quite the situation I'm talking about for Kitna as it was last week when he had the stellar performance against the league's #1 defense. But he started to really get warmed up a little bit and show some production. That gave them the balance that they were needing. That made them a lethal weapon down the stretch and able to score a couple of big touchdowns against the Titans.
Well, they ruled him out. So it will be third down or incomplete. The pass actually fell incomplete at the sidelines. So it's now third down and 9. Big play here for the Titans defense. The crowd getting into it. Over the middle and caught. Danny Farmer at the 40. Harry Phoenix takes him down. I mean, this guy's all smiles. I mean, I've never seen him not make the catch when the ball has gotten to his hands. And last week, as we mentioned, he had a big catch, which was a difference maker in this matchup. A tough pass, too, by Kitna. Had to come across the field.
Yeah, it was a great job throwing it up there, and it's a touch situation. Great hands, great concentration after a major hit, and he hangs on to the ball. A tremendous touchdown effort in a crucial game.
He just enjoys the game. You can see that the way he approaches it. Ooh, nice little move here to Brandon Bennett. A little touch of the college game there.
That's right, a little spin, a reverse option, a little fake action there.
I don't know that Kitna was ever an option to run, but it was an option look with the toss.
Well,
here.
this play is designed to get those linebackers flowing in one direction to the play action. When Kitna turns his back, you've got to honor that if you're a linebacker. Then all of a sudden you turn out, and Tim, I think you could have made plus yards on that play.
Well, Bob Bretkowski, Zeke Bretkowski's son, who actually has strong Tennessee ties, the offensive coordinator with Cincinnati, has spent some time in Miami in the collegiate level, putting that into the package. Nice catch by Darnay Scott. He's been active today at the 30-yard line for another first down. And heating it up again as Kitna did in the second half last week against Pittsburgh. He's doing much the same this afternoon.
Well, if you notice what he's doing, he's working the middle of the field. That's made possible because you had soft coverage on the outside. When you make them represent and honor your inside running game, all of a sudden you don't have the deep dropout by the linebackers in that underneath coverage, and then the middle becomes a little bit more wide open.
Benden stopped at the 30-yard line. Brandon Bennett. Well, you saw those numbers a moment. How gaudy is that? After the first quarter, only 18 yards. And then 320 since. Better than 320 yards of offense since for Cincinnati after an abysmal start in this game back in the first quarter. Take a look at this. I mean, that's amazing. Only 18 yards in the first quarter and 323 cents. That's a wake-up call. Could have been picked by Samari Roll.
Well, Tennessee's getting pretty sharp here because they know that they want to work the inside of the field, so they go to banjo coverage. Samari Roll playing on the inside technique, and all of a sudden Kitna sees the opportunity, looks a little bit appetizing, but it almost cost him there. A ill-advised pass by Kitna.
23-38, 259 yards and a pick. You know something, in the years that we've covered football, Spencer, much like a guy makes a great catch in baseball, he almost always leads off the next inning. Whenever you see a guy miss an opportunity, an interception, generally the offensive team burns him either the next play or somewhere in the series.
You bet.
Dillon, incomplete. Not this time. On third down, pass falls incomplete.
Well, it wasn't that they didn't have an opportunity, even though he goes down what amounted to the check down guy and Dillon, but Kitna was backpedaling, going on his back foot and tried to throw the ball forward. You can't really get much zip on it in that situation. He was under duress a little bit, but had he planted, he might would have been able to put that front shoulder in it and get the ball upfield and perhaps got a completion.
You know, they thought about bringing Rackers into the game, and then LeBeau decided to wait and play field position here, punt it away and try to pin Tennessee deep in its own territory. So enter Nick Harris, second year out of Cal. Walker's back deep, sits a line driver, and it goes into the end zone. So a pooch that didn't pooch. Not high enough. First down for Tennessee when we come back. There's a guy that's been around for a long time in this league, Bruce Matthews, with his young son Luke prior to the game. There he is now with the game face on. 232nd consecutive game face.
There's Mike Munchak right in front of him. You talking about a tandem there. That's about as good as it gets.
On first down from the 20, it's Eddie George. Brought down at the 23. Ball pops free again, but it was down by contact. Officials quickly pointing to the ground. Well, much as Matthews has been around for a while, so too has 60 Minutes. And tonight, while security experts are reasonably certain they can protect the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake from terror attack, they tell 60 Minutes they're not so sure they can say the same about Athens when the Summer Olympics are held there 2.5 years from now. 60 Minutes tonight. 11:35 and counting here in the fourth quarter, and a 1-point Titan lead. O'Donnell, that pass for Wycheck, knocked down by Spikes, and a tremendous play defensively.
That's right, getting that hand in front of the body. And you know what? Only if you're athletic do you dare reach across the body with an official on the outside where he can see clearly where your hands are. But DeKale Spike doesn't need to do that because he's talented and fast enough to do it legitimately.
This may be the highlight of the season. Recall early in the year, September 23rd, Takeo Spikes pulls it down out of the air and takes it back all the way. This play and game began the raging debate of Takeo Spikes and Ray Lewis, how much they brought to the table. Lewis has a title and has Pro Bowls. Takeo in search of both. Pass incomplete, intended for Mason,
who had his high heels on going across that middle. She came up short.
A little tentative.
She had her high heels on. There she goes.
Yeah, a little case of alligator arms that time for Mason. And enter Craig Hendrick in a punt formation. Peter Warwick at the bottom of your screen, Danny Farmer at the top, standing at their own 40. High punt into the wind. Warwick again calls for a fair catch at the 37-yard line. Bengals have it, down by 1.
Javon Warren.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Wendy's Super Value Menu. The best 99 cents you can spend. The Home Depot, driving down the cost of home improvement. And by Nextel. Nextel, how business gets done.
(21-20), the Titans lead the Bengals. 11-14 remaining. Tim Brando, Spencer Tillman, 5 wide receivers, no backs for Kitna. On first down to Darnay Scott into Tennessee territory, and a first down at the 47. 15 yards, the pickup.
It's a great little 15-yard pivot and stop. Andre Dyson gets beat on that particular play, and really it didn't really burn him, so it wasn't accurately getting beat, but it was a great pivot. Great, tremendous job.
Bengals looking to finish out the season with a win and close it out at 6-10, which would be an improvement. Steady and slow though it may be, nothing slow about that guy, Corey Dillon. He's not a part of the need category, not his position, down at the 38-yard line. They need to obtain a consistent quarterback. They may have it in Kitna. He does have a 4-year deal. You think building a scouting department is big, and it is, and certainly help at corner.
Well, it'd be a good idea to actually get a scouting department full-time that actually works. They don't have a full-time scouts. I mean, those coaches, all of them after the season's over, they pack up and head out and start looking at talent. It's compromised. They don't have an infrastructure for success, Tim.
2nd and a yard. Dillon taken out at the 35-yard line. You know, there are a couple of ways of looking at this. Now, you know, Mac, when you think about the Bengals, you think about the attention to Mike Brown. And many have said that they have run the organization in such a way that they can show a great deal of profit. Well, when you don't have a scouting department, therefore, what are you doing? You're making your coaches work a bit more than the norm. However, those coaches are likely to keep their jobs, or more likely to keep them, solely because of their need to be scouts in the offseason.
Well, I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why after this play.
All right. Play fake. Kitna's pass. Caught at the 35-yard line by McMullen, the tight end. And I certainly don't, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I agree with you. But in principle, we have not seen as many coaching changes at Cincinnati through the years.
Here's the reason.
Some suggest that may be a reason why.
Here's the reason why it's not good. The stakes are too high right now. When you make decisions to bring in talent, you better make the right choices. You just do not have the bodies to play around with like you used to have back in the old days. So when you make poor decisions, and these coaches will because they're not out on the road every day scouting these guys, you better make sure the decision is a sound decision. The coaches can't do that in coach games as well.
Danny Farmer takes it in at the 15-yard line, is out at the 13. And following the game and throughout the week, log on to NFL.com and get the latest playoff schedule and analysis from the experts. It's all at NFL.com or America Online, keyword NFL.com.
Don't want to belabor the point, but Tim, it's kind of like a good baseball team. When you got scouts, you can go out and scour the country and look at talent, find some of those guys that are in the nooks and crannies. You know, find a Terrell Owens, find someone that is a 5th-round draft pick you probably never would have seen had you not had the time and the full-time staff to go out and look for that guy. And the Cincinnati just doesn't have that.
2nd and 1. Right back to Warwick. Snap went right to him. And an old Florida State twist. And a marker down.
Offside defense. Number 44, unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
I think that was brought on by the fact that Warwick was in the quarterback slot.
You bet. And now you got him thinking defensively because it becomes a matchup situation. And I guarantee you Jeff Fisher is thinking, all right, who are we going to sign? Who are we going to spy back there on Warwick coming out? He's got a lot of talented guys back there, but I don't think anyone is man enough, if you will, to handle him one-on-one.
You recall that game with Florida some time ago when Florida State actually used 4 quarterbacks because Warwick came in inside the 10-yard line. A little Bowden-esque, this Cincinnati offense in this sequence.
Why not, man? They've got confidence right now. They're playing well.
First and goal, and they've done okay inside that red zone today. Pass to Warwick. Did he get there? Not quite. Stepped out at the 1. Samari Roll right there with him.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got a fairly young receiver in Warwick, but he does a great job against the elder statesmen of that offense, that defensive unit for the Titans. Just can't get that hand past that cone. Samari Roll doing a good job of getting out of bounds before he hits pay dirt.
71 is an eligible receiver.
Willie Anderson is a tackle eligible, it's been announced. Kitna, by the way, 27 of 42, Spence, for 301 yards. So another 300-plus yard performance for Kitna, and he's going to take a timeout. Willie Anderson, formerly of Auburn, and an outstanding tackle in this league, will be eligible when we come back to be the recipient of yet another pass from John Kitna.
55 are eligible receivers.
Dick LeBeau smelling the end zone and perhaps regathering the lead with the ball at the 1-yard line. John Jackson, number 65 and 71, Willie Anderson, tackles eligible out of this strong set. Dillon stopped short of the end zone. In fact, was hit behind the line of scrimmage. Perry Phoenix came up from free safety and really leveled a pop.
Boy, he rose from the ashes and just lit him on fire. That was a tremendous shot. Tremendous shot.
I think he's shaking it off himself there.
That's his 8th tackle of the day, and that was the most vicious one, to be sure.
He's trying to get the blood to flow back in that forehand again. 3rd down from the 1.
That's one of the shots that'll make a running back change his mind.
Yeah.
Of course, a tough guy. But...
And again, Anderson is a tackle eligible, as is Jackson, 65 and 71. Quick pitch to Dillon. Looking for McMullen.
Wow.
Could have been picked off. It was at the 3 by Greg Favors. And McMullen was open, just not enough air underneath the pass from Dillon.
Well, Corey kind of hung it up there, and he had a shot to do it. And again, he's a running back. He's not a quarterback. But as you can watch it here, the little toss sweep, and watch here, Corey Dillon's going to come out here. He slips out in the open. There he is, open. He just leaves it up there and gets it tipped. Here's another look at it. Corey Dillon is feeling awful bad right now. He just limp-wristed up there.
Yep.
Favors doesn't do him any favors. Tremendous interception there. Here's Jeff Fisher here. Look at the smile on his face behind the big guy, Jeff Fisher.
Well, I still question the call, however. Ball is at the 1-yard line. You got one of the best backs in the league, and you turn him into a quarterback?
Well, it's a chess match. You expect him to run the ball, you do something opposite.
Well, with 6:46 remaining, it could be a moot point. Eddie George nudges ahead to about the 2, maybe the 3. I mean, it was there. Clearly, McMullen was open, and I'm sure he believes that he could have arched the ball over Favors, who did have to get up to tip it and then catch it. I just think that's a really high-risk play when you've got a back as good as him and you're in a power formation.
Well, it may be high risk, but again, I think when you're playing against intelligent coaches or you're playing against a team that's shown tendencies, you know, it becomes a crapshoot to some degree. And I think it was a great call. I really do. It just was a poorly executed play by Dillon.
Ahead to about the 4-yard line goes George. And again, going to show you another angle of this. Great play by Favors. You know, he just kept his concentration, and to get, you know, both feet were in. He was right along the sideline as well. And had he been out of bounds when he gathered it in, it would be a different circumstance.
Yes, indeed. Now, we're in the fourth quarter. This is the MO of the Titans. But Eddie George has got some problems right now. 18 carries, only 43 yards, 2.4 per carry in this particular game. Now, he could be under 3 for the season if he continues at this pace.
O'Donnell's pass is caught. Wycheck, and why not? Wycheck. First down, Tennessee. Brian Simmons brings him down, and now they get some room to maneuver at the 23.
That was a huge play there, getting him out of trouble. I mean, Frank Wycheck has been the type of guy, they call it that H-back position for a reason, and we refer to it as a hybrid position. Good blocking on that last play, but Frank Wycheck does a great job of hauling it in. Wide open was Wycheck on that play. O'Donnell hitting him for the big yardage.
Mason and Dyson, the wide receivers. Wycheck with a couple of receptions. That's a big one for field position and the clock, while nursing a 1-point lead. Eddie George trying to cut back ahead to the 30-yard line with both hands over the ball. That big fumble certainly in the back of his mind. You've got to believe that. And for Tennessee, you've been a part of programs that were winning, franchises that were on their way and participated in the Super Bowl, and others that were trying to tread water. How important is it, do you think, to these players, not just Jeff Fisher, but the players, to have a non-losing season?
Well, it's huge, Tim, because we live in a world of images and impression. And if you're able to say that, look, we are at or above 500 more times than any team in the National Football League since '96, that's a psychological advantage, and it's a real plus as well for this ball club.
George to about the 33, very close to a first down. Well, you've been a part of many teams and a part of this organization. That's right. Spencer Tillman, look at those eyes. Check out those eyes right there. I mean, that guy is intense. The return yardage, 221, would come in and make big plays as a running back for the Oilers. And Jerry Glanville was telling you what now, to stick your nose up. How did he say that?
Well, Jerry used to always tell me, he was a prince of left-hand compliments. Jerry would walk in the room and say,
tell you what, after that great play, son, I love you more than I did yesterday. Of course, I didn't love you much yesterday.
Oh, it's a first down for Tennessee. Yeah, I believe the comparisons in the organization, the Oilers, of course, becoming the Titans. Not many comparisons in terms of demeanor between Fisher and Glanville.
No, they're polar opposite in that regard. I mean, Fisher, in the strictest sense of the definition, is a player's coach, and so was Jerry. I mean, Jerry had an ability to have players assume his personalities, and they went out and played extremely hard for him, and we had one of the most unique teams ever played in the National Football League.
First and 10 at the 33, clock ticking at 3:19. And George stopped behind the line at the 31-yard line. Takeo Spikes making the tackle. And Cincinnati now does have the 2-minute warning in front of them. They also have that opportunity and that opportunity. Remember, they exhausted a lot of their timeouts on the offensive side, so they're up against it here. They need a stop on this series.
Yeah, a stop would be big, and it gives them a shot at getting back in this thing. But I'll tell you what, Tennessee is at home when they're able to control the ball in the fourth quarter. This is what they like to do best. They're rolling the cover 3. Let's see if some pressure comes.
O'Donnell's pass for Dyson is incomplete. Case Vaharn was with him. Crowd thought there was some contact, as did Dyson, as did O'Donnell. But no flag. And as I mentioned, they do have the 2-minute warning that will serve as a timeout, but they exhausted those timeouts from an offensive standpoint. That's another reason why I felt that call on that last play was very risky. When they, you're at the 1-yard line with one of the best backs in the league, and you're going with a power formation. At the very least, Rackers could have hit a chip shot field goal to give them the lead. O'Donnell to Dyson. He's got it, but he's shy of the first down. Stopped at the 39, so Cincinnati will get it back. Case Vaharn spun him to the ground. I want to applaud our producer, Steve Shear, for finding just the right photo op. Those eyes glazed on Spencer Tillman as he was running up the field with the football.
Was she scared on that?
Yeah, I believe she was a little scared. We're at the 2-minute warning here in Music City. Jeff Fisher trying to get to 8-8.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by CarQuest Auto Parts. You'll find it at CarQuest. And by Staples. Staples has everything you need for your business at great low prices.
2 minutes remaining in the season finale for the Bengals and the Titans. Last chance to get a victory before the offseason, with hopes of perhaps setting sail for a better 2002. Hintrick to punt it away. Low snap. Farmer and Warwick are deep. Farmer calls for the fair catch. Goes to his knees and cradles at the 29-yard line. A 31-yard boot. Bengals with no timeouts remaining. 1:52 left. A field goal could win it. 63-year-old Dick LeBeau closing out his first full season as Bengals head coach. Sees his offense on the field. 1:52 remaining. No timeouts. Down by 1. Chad Johnson gathers it in. He had caught it, then dropped it as he went to the ground, but he recovered at the 42-yard line. Bengals should have it. Now they're waving it off. I believe now they may be saying it's incomplete. And if that's true, then I think we could have a review.
Well, smart by the Titans.
Incomplete.
Wow.
The play will be reviewed.
Yes, I believe it must be reviewed because he caught the ball.
Well, irrespective of what happens, it's a great job by the Titans of not really being in a hurry to get up, because they know there's only 1:40 left now in the game.
Terry McCauley will go over and take a look. I mean, this is clearly a catch. And he was tucking it away.
Well, he was tucking it away, but again, it's tough to determine when it's going in slow motion, but clearly the ball comes out. And I'll tell you what, even in a slow motion replay, I'm thinking that perhaps that can't be constituted as a completion. The ball is in his grasp here. Does he have control? I think it's on his way out too quick. I think that's an incompleted pass.
Boy, I disagree.
I think it's incompleted.
I really disagree.
Well, you're watching it in slow motion, Timmy.
Review the play, whether it's complete or incomplete.
I think you got to remember that when it's an involuntary move with your arms and hands, yes, it is incomplete, but that was a voluntary move by the receiver, down with the ball, tucking it away as you're taught. He has possession of the ball as he's tucking it.
But does it constitute control? And again, you got to realize you're dealing, number one, with the slow motion. Does he have control?
That is a voluntary move on the part of the receiver, not involuntary. Again, it's it could be, you're right, it could be overturned, but we have a respectful difference of opinion here.
You feeling lucky?
See what Terry McCauley believes.
After review, the receiver never possessed the football with both feet on the ground. The ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass. Second down.
That's why you're the analyst, and I'm simply a talking head.
Now, I'm not a betting man. I'm not a betting man. Let's clarify that. But there's an old expression where I'm from: bet with me, not against me.
Well, the explanation of both feet on the ground perhaps is the exclamation point to what you're saying.
Yeah. I think there's some substance to that.
Yes.
But again, the slow motion kind of threw you. I'll give you that.
2nd and 10. Dillon dumps it. Was it picked?
Now, a moot point.
Intercepted.
That should be a pick.
Deron Jenkins closes it out in Music City.
There's none bigger play than this.
Third down.
Now look, they're going to overturn this. Now they're saying it was incomplete. Can you say reviewable?
Well, that play is going to be difficult to review because Dillon's back was right in the line of sight of what was now an incompletion.
Boy, the lateness of this, though, the ruling being changed by the officials this late. You know, Tennessee has been dogged all year by these kinds of calls at the end of games.
Well, let's take a look at this replay. Maybe we get a better perspective on it. Indeed, perhaps it was an incompletion. But from the angle we just saw, it certainly looked like it was inconclusive because Corey Dillon's line of fire was right in front of the play.
Third down. Over the middle to Scott. He's got it. Out of bounds at the 30-yard line. Well, if Tennessee loses this game, boy, will they go back and look at this over and over again. And again, the lateness of the overturn in the call is what comes into question.
No question about it. You want to make that decision a lot sooner. Here, you see Dillon gets a hand on it. It's tipped in the air. Tough again to read it because Dillon's back is right in line of where the ball is, and Jenkins.
Replay confirms it was incomplete.
Well, they must have been looking at a different angle.
Had to be looking at a different angle than that. 1st and 10. Couldn't call a timeout. That's a penalty. He clearly called a timeout.
That backs him up.
That's 10 yards.
That backs him up out of field goal range for the moment.
What a horrible mistake by a veteran quarterback. So when you got no timeouts, that's a penalty of 10 yards.
I'll tell you what, now Jeff Fisher has got to challenge his defense to hold here.
No, you can't do that.
He knew it immediately, though. He knew it immediately. The head went back, the arms went out, then he tried to plead the fifth.
5 yards, the penalty, not 10, so it's 1st and 15. Over the middle, that should be an interference penalty, and is. Michael Booker is guilty, number 33. Well, it was Booker, you'll recall earlier, who had a near interception turn into a pass completion for Darnay Scott.
Pass interference, defense, number 33, automatic first down.
Well, it's been an entertaining final game for two teams that are going nowhere in the postseason.
Well, that tells you something about the character of both these teams, and maybe a little bit about the craziness of the ball and the way these calls have gone so far.
Why are we doing that?
Corey Dillon is stopped in his tracks at the 24-yard line, and now Cincinnati is hurrying back to the line of scrimmage. Another flag is down. Offsides against Tennessee. I tell you, Tennessee's been involved in some wild and wacky at the end of the year, and so has Terry McCauley and crew.
That's right. I was here at the Music City Miracle Affair a couple of years ago when they came from behind and knocked off Buffalo.
Defense, 12 men on the field. 5-yard penalty, remains first down. Also, the defense was offside. That penalty's declined.
So you've got substitution errors, mental mistakes, Kitna, and then on the Titans side, 12 men on the field. If either one of these teams lose, it's a result of their own incorrect decisions and inability to substitute correct personnel.
Regardless, you still have to wonder how a call can be changed so late after a play has been made, which was the case on the Deron Jenkins interception. Now, granted, replay from what angle, I don't know because I didn't see it, meant that the play was incomplete. But it just took a long time for the call to be overturned. Officials were signaling the ball's going the other way. Tennessee wants a timeout.
Takes their first charge timeout. It will be a 30-second timeout.
Now, 30-second timeout taken. You know, the other factor here is that Neil Rackers is like we're talking a 50-50 proposition for Rackers. It's been that way all year. Don't forget game 2 of our doubleheader coming up. Feature matchup, the Jets in Oakland. Mr. Rackers is working diligently along the sidelines. And of course, last week it was in overtime after he had missed an extra point that would have won it in regulation. He put it through, and the comeback was complete against Pittsburgh. And this would be another comeback victory. Rackers with a 30 and a 33-yarder today. And this Bengals team was down 14-0 in the first quarter.
Well, for the second week running, he has a chance to become the hero. And if I'm Coach LeBeau, I put him in immediately when he's in range to get him in there. Of course, he is in range already.
Again, we have a tackle eligible as announced by Terry McCauley. Jermaine Stevens, number 75. The tackle on your bottom of your screen is a tackle eligible from the 14. Following, Corey Dillon down to about the 11-yard line. Clock ticks at 1:05.
Second charge timeout, Tennessee. It will be a 30-second timeout.
Well, Cincinnati trying to conserve some time so that they may get the ball back, provided the Bengals do kick the field goal and get a lead. So they're trying to conserve some time for O'Donnell on the back end of what would be a potential kick by Rackers. And only one timeout remaining for the Titans.
It was a good judicious use of the timeout by their head coach Jeff Fisher as Neil O'Donnell looks on, and you know he can't do much right now, but look, didn't have an excellent game coming in for Steve McNair, but I'll tell you what, Tennessee Titans made a lot of mistakes on the defensive side of the ball early, and on the offensive side of the ball with the numerous personal foul penalties by Brad Hopkins and company on the offensive line, and then of course some questionable calls down the stretch by the officials.
Nothing doing. In fact, stopped behind the line of scrimmage that time was Dillon. Josh Evans comes up.
Third and final charge timeout. Tennessee, it will be a 30-second timeout.
I tell you, the clock operator is doing a nice job. Because those timeouts are coming very quickly, and the clock is stopping as the official shouts out the timeout.
Well, it's called home field advantage.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I've seen some home field clock operators wrong the home team from time to time. John Kitna now facing a second down, and clearly what they can't afford here, Spencer, is negative yardage. Because the Rackers is a lot more effective in the 35 and in range than outside the 35-yard range.
Number 75 is an eligible receiver.
You know, and kickers are particularly squirrely. It doesn't matter if they lose maybe 4 or 5 yards and they're still within his range. It's just psychologically, if they go backwards, that's a long time for a kicker to think about the fact that he's further than he would have been had there not been a loss.
He came in today, did Rackers, 14 for 25, his longest 51, but he missed 2 inside 32 yards last week. And you see, that's what they're doing, simply setting him up as best they can for a field goal try that would keep them in great shape. So now it's third down, still a down to give if they so choose, and the clock begins to work again. 46 and counting, trying to take out as much time as possible. Tennessee's used their last timeout, and he won't snap this until about a second or so is left on the play clock. Spikes it. Now it's all up to Rackers with 25 seconds left, and the good news for Tennessee is at least they will get the ball back by using those timeouts when they did. But if they do get it back, they'll only have a couple of plays, maybe 3 if they use the sidelines.
That's what I was referring to when I said Jeff Fisher judiciously using his timeouts a little bit early, because he knew that he would ultimately have some time left over to perhaps, you know, get the ball back and have a chance for a Hail Mary.
This will be 34 yards. Nick Harris to hold. Wow. Right through. Rackers puts another 3 on the board. And it's a 2-point lead with 20 ticks remaining here in Nashville. In a bizarre series just moments ago, it was you thought Deron Jenkins had just salted away a win, and the season would be no worse than 8-8 for Jeff Fisher. But a lot changed with an overturned decision by the officials, and then healthy play calling and setting up Rackers for that field goal.
Well, great form. Ball is down, and he knew it immediately. No wide right today. Neil Rackers, the hero role for the second week running.
And LeBeau, always astute and thinking about, oh, that Music City Miracle of a few years ago. And Jeff Fisher says, boy, has this season been long. A lot of injuries, and some crazy things have happened at the end of games. Breaks have gone against them over and over again. Officials' calls and overturned calls, very important. 20 seconds left. Well, think about it. Same type of situation as was with Buffalo in the playoffs a couple of years ago.
You're right, and I'll tell you what, if Dick LeBeau's a forward thinker like I think is, he's better be thinking about any type of throwback play, because it's the exact same situation as it was with the Buffalo Bills prior to the Music City Miracle. I was at that game and witnessed it right down there from the end zone.
Doubleheader Saturday. Plenty of action yet to come today. Jets and Raiders featured. Rackers boots it away. Low squib. Clock doesn't move until it's touched. Here it comes. Throwback to roll. And Samari tries to go back and reverses field, and he's down at the 20-yard line. A shorter version of what was the miracle. The throwback was in play. And really all it did there was utilize a bit more off the clock. So 13 seconds left, 2 plays if you're lucky.
Well, if they're lucky, and the key is you've got to figure it's going to be some kind of deep out so they can get the ball near the sideline and get out. I think that they can get a chance for 2 plays here if they handle it well. Maybe a 12 or 14-yard out. I don't think you can go much further than that. Then you take your shot on the second play.
You mentioned the hook and ladder a little earlier as well. And that's another possibility. 6 defensive backs spread way back. The Bengals, they have Juwan Armour all the way back at his 40-yard line, 60 yards from the line of scrimmage. Pass is complete to Bennett. There it is. To George.
Get out of bounds.
As if on cue. At the 37-yard line, out of bounds with 6 seconds left.
Well, now they'll take their shot. You call that one, partner, right on.
I spend an entire season with guys like you and learn a little bit from time to time. By the way, my thanks to our statistician, Scott Alexander, spotter Kim Anderson. Great job all year, fellas, and again today. O'Donnell looking deep, and that will do it. The Cincinnati Bengals come from behind for the 2nd consecutive week. First Pittsburgh and now the Titans, and win it 23-21. So for Spencer Tillman, I'm Tim Brando saying so long from Adelphia Coliseum. Our final 23-21 Cincinnati. Coming up next, it's game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Very big day for Neil Rackers, 2nd consecutive week. He's the hero for the Bengals. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.